Hi, I am Contagion, and it's time for my second controversial video. I was actually going to make a video response to Dear Fat People, which was a video that came out a while back, but something presented itself to me and I just had to take the bait. I'm probably still going to do the video I was planning to do, but I pushed that to the side right now because I really wanted to respond to this. So, here we go. There is an article that I saw on Facebook of all places, so, toilet of the internet, by someone named Aya de Leon. And this article is a racist piece of shit. Let's begin. First, let's start with the title. Dear White People / Queridos Gringos. Firstly, white people. You're going to go through this article talking about Latinos and the different subsets of Latinos. Which white people are you talking about? Are you talking about Serbs? Are you talking about Celtics? Are you talking about Germanics? White people aren't all one thing just because our skin happens to be light. Don't be racist. Now, some of you are going to go on about minorities can't be racist because there has to be a power play and only someone in a position of power can be racist over someone who isn't. To that I say that's utter and complete bullshit, and that's just an apologist excuse for bad behavior. Anybody can be racist against anyone else. I can argue that she has power over the white people she is talking about by posting this article, which could influence the minds of others. Influence is power. But let's get into this article. Let's start with the first paragraph. First sentence says that, yeah, Day of the Dead's pretty cool. Great, I don't care. But this indigenous holiday from Mexico celebrates the loving connection between the living and our departed loved ones that is so deeply missing in Western culture. You know what I hate? How everyone shits on everything from Western culture. Tell you what, that is not missing from Western culture. Grieving is a normal process exhibited by all humans throughout all cultures and expressed differently. Just because the way it's expressed in Western culture differs from how it's expressed in Hispanic culture does not make it any less valuable. If grieving takes place and people are effectively moving on from their loved ones and celebrating the lives they lived, then it's no less worthwhile. Western culture is not bankrupt in that regard. Let's move on. She goes on to say, who wouldn't feel moved by intricately and lovingly built altars, beautifully painted skull faces, waterfalls of marigold flowers, fragrant sweet breads, and delicious meals for those whom we miss sharing our earthly lives. Yeah, that sounds really cool. You know what? I can dig that. That's great. Nothing wrong with that at all. She understands. Yeah, well, anyone will understand. That sounds like a good celebration. Latino with an ampersand. She's gonna do this for the whole fucking article. That takes some work. Instead of taking her right hand and pressing the O key using barely any movement, she had to hit shift and move her ring finger on her left hand to the ampersand key. What? Why? It's stupid. Stop being stupid. You're stupid. Alright, we're skipping the second paragraph because nothing really interesting happens there. Third paragraph. And in the tradition of indigenous peoples, Chican, ampersand, and Mexican-American communities, look at her differentiate, they're not just Hispanic, have not told you not to come, not to join, not to celebrate alongside them. Well, tell you what, nobody needs any permission to celebrate any culture at all, ever. That's the whole point of culture. It's not exclusive. There's no membership, and you're not made better by saying, hey, you can't celebrate our holiday. If anything, I think it is human nature for people to feel gratified when something they do is taken seriously and when others find it interesting. When something you're doing is recognized by others, that escalates you on the social scale. You become higher, closer to the alpha. Thus, you're not going to tell someone no when they find what you're doing interesting. It's not human nature. You arrived at the Dia de los Muertos ceremony shipwrecked, a refugee from a culture that suppresses grief, hides death, banishes it, celebrates it only in the most morbid ways. Horror movies, violent television, death is dehumanized without loving a connection, without ceremony. Firstly, I'm pretty sure people found Dia de los Muertos quite novel. Grieving is not to be compartmentalized and put in one little box for one little day of the year. In fact, I'd say most grieving happens at the time of death. So, you lose Great-Grandma Gladys, you're going to be grieving for Great-Grandma Gladys then and there. You will celebrate Great-Grandma Gladys's life at any opportunity, and that definitely Dia de los Muertos presents that opportunity, and there's nothing wrong with that. But again, you're cherry-picking aspects of Western culture that you don't like. Violence, movies, yeah, everyone blames that for everything. You're scapegoating. No, nobody came to Dia de los Muertos shipwrecked. Nobody came searching for a way to grieve for their loved ones. People know how to do that innately. We actually have a great understanding of the grieving process. Don't pretend you are saving Western culture with your holiday. You arrived at Dia de los Muertos like a pilgrim, starving, unequal to survival in the land of grief. What the hell does that even mean? I I don't even understand that. Like, are you saying we did not know how to grieve? Because that's what I was just talking about. The grieving process is quite well understood thanks to Western culture and the free thinking that it breeds. Thanks to the scientific method, thanks to psychology, we know how the grieving process works. We have a fairly good understanding. I'm not going to say it's perfect, but we kind of know what needs to happen. This isn't something we're unfamiliar with. Just because Western culture might seem to lack a spiritual aspect does not mean it lacks understanding of the processes behind grief. Let's move on. What have you done? I haven't done anything. I've actually never celebrated Dia de los Muertos. I always thought it was pretty cool. There was once this cartoon I remember from when I was a kid where these kids ate candy skulls and each of them had to give up a year of their life to save one of their friends, and I don't even remember. It was a long time ago. I guess that was Western culture desensitizing me to death. Even though actually I think that show had a pretty potent moral, but I don't even remember, so whatever. Like the Pilgrims, you have begun to take over, to gentrify, and colonize this holiday for yourselves. I was shocked this year to find Day of the Dead events in my native Oakland Bay area. Not only that were not organized by Chican ampersands, Mexican ampersands, and Latin ampersands, but the event had 0 Latin ampersands artists participating, consulted, involved, paid, recognized, acknowledged. There's supposed to be an and prayed with. First of all, prayed with? Who the fuck cares? Nobody in this world, unless they are a fanatical religious person out to kill others, is going to say, you cannot pray with me. Don't pretend you're excluded when you're not. Secondly, nobody has to ask permission to use your culture. Your culture is not owned, it's not copyrighted, and you have actually no way of telling anyone not to use it. Cultural appropriation has happened all throughout history and will continue to happen until the human species exists no longer. If anything, like I said earlier, it is a gratification. It is a way of saying, look, you have something special. We want to celebrate it in our own way, and that is fine. Nobody has to say, hey, Latinos, we're going to borrow your holiday. Can we include you? No, that does not have to happen just because the celebrations happen to come from a Hispanic heritage. Let me propose something to you. A Hispanic person really, really loves German cuisine. They love schnitzel. They love potatoes. They love all sorts of stuff. They love the raw meat that the Bavarians eat. And they want to make a German restaurant. Does this Hispanic person have to go to Germans, make sure they hire Germans even though they love this cuisine and know how to cook it? No! That would be stupid. See, your premise is stupid. This is the same logic here. Now things are going to get really crazy. Certain announcements of some of this year's celebrations conjured visions of hipsters drinking special holiday microbrews and listening to live music by white bands eating white food. What the hell is white food? Why the hell would you put color on a food? Do I have to eat a torta because the holiday is Hispanic? Who the fuck cares? Why do you care? Why are you being racist? I mean, if the food being served happened to be Indian food because it was a Dia de los Muertos celebration that Indians were interested in, would that make it any less good of a celebration? Well, I guess not, because they're not white, right? Don't bother to build an altar because your celebration is an altar of death, a ceremony of killing culture by appropriation. Do you really not know how to sit at the table, to say thank you, to be a gracious guest? And this is being asked by the person who, thanks to Western culture, can put her opinion on the internet for all to see and lives in one of the greatest technological capitals of the frickin' world. You shit on Western culture a lot for all of the benefits it gives you. Furthermore, you don't own culture. Nobody owns culture. We've been through this. It isn't your table. Dia de los Muertos belongs to anyone who wants to celebrate it, and there's nothing you can do about that, and there's nothing you should be able to do about that. If someone wants to drink beer because Dia de los Muertos gives them an excuse to do so, that is their damn right. So, moving on. She starts to go on about the terrible things going on in Mexico and Central America. This year, as midterm elections and immigration reform, quote, gets bandied on the lips of politicians, urban young white voters will wear skull faces and watch puppets with dancing skeleton bones and party and drink and celebrate. And there's nothing wrong with that. But those same revelers will not think for a single second of the deaths of Latin ampersands trying to cross the militarized border and to escape the deaths caused by NAFTA, CAFTA, and U.S. foreign policy and drug policies and the dirty wars on Mexico and Central America. Let's make a point. What's going on there is awful. It sucks. Our drug policies do suck. They're terrible. They are causing the deaths of people in Mexico and Central America. I think many Americans, not even most, but many are acutely aware of this. We know. However, you are indirectly here placing the blame on the white people that you're addressing this article too, despite the fact that Congress is 17.6% non-white. Yeah, it's not a majority, but there is a substantial number of non-whites in Congress, including almost 7% Hispanics. Further, our commander-in-chief is black. I'm not trying to make a point about race here, except race has nothing to do with it. Since then, white people have shown they don't value indigenous life, but are fascinated by indigenous spirituality. I want to bet that you are Catholic, and I find that ironic. In the next paragraph, she finally throws white people a bone. Not all white people feel this way. Gee, thanks, Aya. Thank you for that, because, I'm one of the ones that don't feel that way. I'm so glad you pointed out that I'm the 1/10 of 1% of white people that actually care. Thank you to all those who boycott the events. Blah, blah, blah. There's nothing wrong with wanting to participate in this deeply human holiday. There's something wrong with wanting to colonize. There's nothing wrong with doing anything with your deeply human holiday. If I want to colonize it, as you are calling it, I have the right to do that. And also, I think you're cheapening history by calling this colonization, because, the colonization that happened in the 1400s involved slavery, death, rape, disease, pestilence, all of that. This is nothing like that. If someone is taking culture and selling it to corporate America, nobody's dying because of that. It's cheapening it, yes, but culture's value is not intrinsic. Value is given to culture by those who participate in it and use it to some social end. Finally, she goes on to shit on Halloween. Halloween has a rich history as an indigenous European holiday that's celebrated many of the same themes as Day of the Dead, but you have let it be taken over by Walmart. Now it's about plastic decorations and cheap polyester costumes and young women having permission to wear sexy clothes without being slut-shamed and kids binging on candy. You know what? Don't presume to tell anyone what their holiday is about. Yes, everything in America, especially America, is commercialized to the nth degree, and that does suck. But that doesn't mean that's what Halloween is about. Halloween is about whatever anyone wants to make it about. If women are scantily clad in costumes and they like how they feel when that happens, so freaking be it. There's nothing wrong with that. If I'm using it to dress in a way that I can't dress at any other time of the year without being scrutinized and deemed an insane person, then there's value in that too. Simply because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up. Culture, like I just said, has no intrinsic value. By itself, it's worthless. The thing that gives culture value is that it brings people together under something common. Dia de los Muertos brings people together to remember their loved ones, and that's great. But you know what? If in America, in California, people are using it to have a good time and drink and do their own thing, there is nothing wrong with that at all. It doesn't matter. Furthermore, for all of its downsides, Western culture has done a lot for this world. Thanks to Western culture, you were able to post this article on the internet. Thanks to Western culture, I'm able to post this video on the internet. Thanks to Western culture, I'm vaccinated against all sorts of diseases that would have killed me 100 years ago. Western culture is where intellectualism and science were born. Yes, it has problems, so does every culture. The point is, if you are going to attack Western culture for how awful it is, yet use it to spread your message, then you are the pot calling the kettle black. Anyway, that's all I've got for now. I just wanted to make this video because I'm really tired of the reverse racism going on. Racism from any front on any side of the spectrum is wrong. To be racist against any race as any other race is fucking wrong. And racism is not a power play. Racism is a frame of mind. If you look at someone who is a different race and assume things about them because of that, you are a racist. Period. Just because I'm white doesn't mean I'm sitting here oppressing Hispanics by my nature. Doesn't mean I'm colonizing your cultures, and then it doesn't mean I'm for the Donald Trump presidency. Anyway, that's all. For real. I'm done. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please let me know what you think. I actually took a whole buttload of notes here and went to town on it. It's not even 2 pages, so I just wanted to get my thoughts out concisely. Everything will be linked in the description. Feel free to read the article. Feel free to disagree with me, but I don't know. Tell me what you think. If you guys like this video, make sure to leave a like, share it, let friends see it, do all that stuff. Oh, by the way, one last bit of irony. I'm wearing a shirt with a symbol stolen from pagan culture. It must have been colonized by Rush. I don't hear the pagans complaining. Furthermore, our chief executive officer is black. Our chief executive officer? Really? Really, Kent?